Hey everyone, this is John Bergman. I am the Southwestern Key Outreach Counselor. Today we are here to talk about paying for college 101. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, just to give you a heads up, I work for Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority. We are the state agency that promotes college access for the state of Kentucky. Number one, we are in charge of your KEAS money. So if you ever heard of KEAS money, we are in charge of that. But we do have several different informational services in the state of Kentucky. Just to give you a heads up, we have several publications that we offer for the state of Kentucky. And one of those publications is called the College Circuit. The College Circuit is going to have information about grants, loans, scholarships, your KEAS money, and also it's going to talk to you about the FAFSA. You can find this publication at KHEAA.com. Potentially you might find it in your libraries or potentially at your high schools as well. But again, if you are not eligible to go to your school, please go to our website, which is KHEAA.com, and you can find all of our publications there. Another publication I want to mention is the Getting In book. If your students have not received the Getting In book, you can also find this book online as well. It has a list of every single Kentucky college in it, tells you the cost of those schools, what majors those schools offer, and also has phone numbers and contact information for the financial aid offices and also the admissions offices as well. Now, another publication I do want to mention is called our FAFSA Completion Guide. Now, Emily is going to actually provide that link in the chat for you all to take you directly to that FAFSA checklist. So it tells you exactly what is needed to complete the FAFSA, how to make a username and password for the FAFSA. Also, it's going to detail information on what makes an independent versus a dependent student, and also answers questions about some of the common questions we have about the FAFSA, especially verification. So please have a look at that. And again, if you do have questions throughout this presentation, please write in the comments on the chat, and my colleague Emily will answer those questions for you. We also do have our outreach counselors. There are 13 of us inside the state of Kentucky that help students through the college access process. We all have our regions, and I am the Southwestern Key Outreach Counselor, and Emily is the Southeastern Key Outreach Counselor. We also have a bus. This bus is called the College Information Roadshow. This bus will travel throughout the state of Kentucky. Right now, it is not traveling due to the pandemic, but typically it travels to all 120 counties in the state of Kentucky to talk about careers and also college access. Now, we also help with hands-on help. Number one is going to be that FAFSA. Typically, we are at schools helping with the FAFSA, and potentially we are at libraries or community events helping with the FAFSA as well. So hopefully your school has us coming in to help you all fill out the FAFSA. It might be virtual, it might be in person. It depends on the school. We also are in charge of your KEAS money. So hopefully you are looking at your KEAS money, checking to make sure it is correct. And of course, we do help with verification. Now, we also do provide some financial aid help in the state of Kentucky. We are going to have a couple of grants and also a couple of scholarships. So you might have heard of KEAS money. We are the organization or agency that administers that. And of course, we do have some Kentucky grants that you can obtain by filling out the FAFSA as well. We also have a loan. It's called the Kentucky Advantage Loan. And then of course, we have a savings plan trust, which is a 529 plan to help save up for money. And we'll go into detail about each of those things today. So first of all, I want to talk about the types of financial aid that is available to you. Number one is going to be your grants. Your grants are free money for you to go to college. Now, you get these grants by filling out the FAFSA. And if you don't know yet, the FAFSA opens up on October 1st, so this Thursday. So just to give you a heads up, this is need-based money that does not have to be repaid. It can be a federal grant, it can also be a state grant that you might be eligible for. Then you're going to have your scholarships. Your scholarships are merit or performance-based. Now, some of them can be institutional-based, so they could be need-based. So you can fill out the FAFSA and get some scholarship money for it. So say, for example, you get an academic scholarship based off your ACT or your GPA. Or potentially you might get a scholarship for playing a sport or potentially playing an instrument while you are in college. Not only that, you're also going to have some need-based scholarships that come from filling out the FAFSA, that come from your universities. It might come from an alumni, it might come from a donor, or potentially it might come from your department who wants to give you a scholarship. Also, you're going to have work study. Work study is when you work on campus. You can use that money towards your education, or you can actually get that money directly back to you, like having a job on campus. So again, you would get a check potentially if you did not use that money towards your education. But if you do find a job on campus, you do have to have a FAFSA on file. So even if you don't need any grants or you don't need any loans to find that job on campus, you do need to have a FAFSA on file. And of course, you have your federal loans. Now, your loans are something that you do have to pay back. So not only are you taking that money out, but you're also paying that interest rate as well. So just to give you a heads up, if you want any type of grant, if you want to take out a federal loan, if you want to find a job on campus, you do need to file a FAFSA. And the website for the FAFSA is fafsa.gov. Again, it is a governmental website, so it's going to end at .gov. So one more time, it is fafsa.gov. Now, there are several different sources of financial aid. Number one is going to be your government, and that is going to be your federal and state aid, and you're going to get that by filing the FAFSA. Then you're going to have your institutional aid, which is going to be your academic, your merit-based, your talent-based scholarships. And of course, you also might have endowment scholarships, which again come from an alumni, a donor, or potentially a department at the university. Then you're going to have your private aid. Your private aid is going to be your local, regional, state, and also national scholarships. And finally, you're going to have the military. Now, I strongly suggest if you plan on going to the military, please reach out to a recruiter. Talk to them about their educational benefits they have to offer by joining the military. But I do want to go into detail about the military, though. Now, there are several different military benefits that you might be eligible for. Number one is going to be that post 9/11 bill. As long as you've been active for at least 90 days in the military, you become active for that post 9/11 bill. Not only that, you also have the Montgomery GI Bill. Now, for that bill, you have to be active for at least 2 years. So just to give you a heads up, you can't have both of these bills. You can only have one. So it's always good to compare them. And you can do that by going to the VA website. So please go visit the VA website to find out more information about these two bills. Now, you also have the Yellow Ribbon Program. This allows a student to actually go to school, potentially at a more expensive public university or private school. So yes, you have that GI Bill, that post 9/11 or that Montgomery Bill, but potentially say you go to a private school, it wouldn't pay for all of it. So you have the Yellow Ribbon Program. It may cover public school tuition and fees and also partial private school tuition and fees as well. Now also you have ROTC. You might decide to join ROTC while you are in college. You potentially have it at your high school, and of course you want to try it while you are in college. Now, just to give you a heads up, your ROTC programs are going to have different scholarships. There might be a 4-year program scholarship, or you might do an observation year and then get a 3-year scholarship. Depends on what you are eligible for. So please reach out to your schools and ask them about the ROTC programs if you plan on going ROTC route. Not only that, you also have the Kentucky National Guard. You can join the Kentucky National Guard at the age of 17. You do have to do a basic training, which is about 10 weeks. And not only that, you can also get your tuition paid for at a public university or potentially a community college in the state of Kentucky. So by joining the Kentucky National Guard, they have the Kentucky National Guard Tuition Assistance Program. Not only that, you get a stipend per month as well. Now, of course, you do have a training per month that you have to do, but again, it's a good way to get your school paid for. Now, just to let you all know too, for that post 9/11 bill or the Montgomery bill, if you are a parent and you're military and you did not use your GI Bill, potentially you could pass it along to your students. But again, there are some restrictions, so I always suggest going to the VA website to check those restrictions. Now, I like to talk about scholarships because there are scholarships for everything, and I mean everything. There are hundreds of thousands of scholarships out there. You just have to find them. So there are scholarships based off your height. There are scholarships based off your eye color, your hair color, diversity. Not only that, there are scholarships based off where you're from. So if you're from a small town in Kentucky, there is probably a scholarship for that small town, Kentucky. So again, it's always good to research these scholarships. You never know what is going to be available to you. For example, you might have the most random hobby in the world, and there's a scholarship for it. You just have to search it out. So again, we strongly suggest researching yourself. Yes, you have your school counselors. Yes, you have your college or career counselors at your high schools. But again, they're not going to know about all of those scholarships. So it's always a good idea to actually research those scholarships yourself and see what's out there. Because again, there are hundreds of thousands out there. And of course, your schools have over potentially 1,000 students. And again, they might know about a couple that might meet your criteria, but they're not going to know everything about you. So again, it's always good to research yourself. So number one, you can go to fastweb.com. You can go to scholarships.com. And you can also go to KHEAA.com. So that's who I work for, KHEAA, Kentucky Higher Higher Education Assistance Authority. If you go to our website, we have a national database there where you can search for scholarships. Say, for example, you want to go into nursing and you are looking for nursing scholarships by putting that keyword into the search bar, and it will give you a list of nursing scholarships. So again, please do that research yourself. Now, I know a lot of students, they apply for scholarships and that scholarship might take about 5 minutes to fill out because it doesn't have that essay. Now, a lot of scholarships go unmet because they do have essays. But I'm gonna let you all know that typically you can reuse those essays. You tweak them up, you perfect them, you proofread them, you make sure they're good, you have somebody else look over them, but reuse those essay questions. Doesn't mean you're writing an essay for every single scholarship that you apply for. Typically, you're gonna have some common essay questions like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? What makes you diverse? How are you gonna use this scholarship to benefit your community? And why do you wanna go to college? Those are common questions and you can reuse those essays. You just have to tweak them up a little bit. Also, you have your employers. Potentially, if your student has a job, they can actually check to see if their work offers a scholarship. Or potentially parents, if you have a job, check with your work to see if they offer scholarships for their students. Not only that, check with the public library. You might notice that there are some bulletin boards that have scholarship opportunities on them, or potentially they're posting something on their websites. Also check with your organizations which you belong to. For example, you might be in an organization on campus like FFA, FBLA. You might be in Beta, National Honor Society. There might be local, but they are definitely regional, state, and national scholarships that your students can apply for through those organizations. Not only that, you might notice that your church offers a scholarship. So if you go to church, check with your church to see if they offer a scholarship to your student to go to college. And also there are some scholarship apps out there. For example, if you have a phone, an Android, or potentially an iPhone, you can download some apps. But we're gonna let you know to be very wary about some scholarships. For example, if they're asking for too much confidential information, please watch out for that because it could be a scam. For example, if it's asking for a social security number, a banking number, if it's asking for money, those potentially could be scams. So if it's asking for money, it's definitely a scam. But if it's asking potentially for a social or potentially a bank account number, please reach out to somebody like your school counselor, your college or career counselor, potentially somebody from KHEAA, and ask about that scholarship. Because again, we don't want your information going into the wrong hands. So be very wary about these scholarship opportunities. Again, there are some great ones out there, but of course, you potentially might get scammed. So again, please reach out to somebody to make sure that these scholarships are legitimate. Now, we also have a book through KHEAA. It's called Affording Higher Education. It's this book on this page right here. Now, just to let you know, this book has over 5,000 Kentucky scholarships in it, based off of college and also by county. Just to let you know, you can find this book at KHEAA.com under our publications. But my favorite parts about this book, again, it is listed by county. So if you were to look up your county in this book, you can check to see what county scholarships your county has to offer. It will tell you the name, how much it's worth, how many they give out, and also the criteria for that scholarship. So what is the FAFSA? The FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It is an application that students fill out every single year that they plan on going to college. And this is how you're going to get your grants, your loans, and other forms of institutional aid. And of course, the website is fafsa.gov. Again, it is a governmental website. It is not a .com. It is a governmental website, which means it's going to end in .gov. So for example, if you Google the FAFSA, one of the first things that's going to show up potentially might be a fake website. So be very cautious of that and make sure you're clicking on fafsa.gov. It also is an app, and you can download that app on an Android phone or an Apple phone. And of course, it is called My Student Aid. It is an app that gives you the ability to begin, complete, save, and submit the FAFSA from a mobile device. Now, the FAFSA application, it is a process. It is required for federal, state, and most institutional aid. And you'll apply as soon as possible starting October 1st. So if your students plan on going to college during the 21-22 year, that FAFSA will not open up until October 1st, so 2 days from now. Now, when you fill out the FAFSA, you're going to use 2019 tax forms, okay? So 2019 income. So when you fill out the FAFSA, you're going to have your 2019 tax forms, 2019 W-2s, and potentially other forms of income. So for example, if you receive a 1099, you will put that information in your income. To ensure the information on the FAFSA, you're going to use something called the IRS data retrieval tool. Just to give you a heads up, this is two governmental entities working together to make sure your information is right on the FAFSA. What happens here is the FAFSA goes into the IRS website, takes your information from the IRS, and puts it into the FAFSA for you. It is safe, it is secure, it is efficient. It will also save you about 30 minutes when you complete the FAFSA. Not only that, you know your information is accurate because again, it comes from the IRS website. Now, when you are filling out the FAFSA, you're going to include the schools which you plan on applying to. Now, there is a limit, and that limit is 10. So when you finish the FAFSA the first time, you can put in 10 schools. After that, you can go back into the FAFSA, take a couple schools out, and then add a couple others if you need to. So if you have more than 10 schools, it's perfectly fine. Submit it with the first 10, and then go back in, take a couple schools out, and resubmit it. Now, not only that, just to let you all know, do not push save if you're going back into your FAFSA. You're just saving it to that page. You need to push resubmit. So you need to resubmit the FAFSA. Doesn't mean you're starting all over again, which by adding a school, it might take about 5 minutes. But at the very end, by the time you add that school, make sure you resubmit it. Don't push save, because again, it's just going to save it to that page. Now, one of the first steps in completing the FAFSA is making a username and password. And that username and password is called an FSA ID. It is how you log on to the FAFSA and how you submit the FAFSA electronically, so your electronic signature. So let's talk about that FSA ID. I'm going to go back real quick. And that website for the FSA ID is fsaid.ed.gov. Again, that website is fsaid.ed.gov. Now, just to give you a heads up, if your student is a dependent student, which means they live with the parents, they are not seen as independent until they are 24 years old. So they're going to have to use the parental information on the FAFSA until they are 24. So just to give you a heads up, if that student is a dependent student, they had to have a username and password for themselves, and they also have to have one for one of the parents. So not both parents, just one. So you need to obtain an active email address. Students, do not use your high school email address because it deactivates after you graduate. So say, for example, you're in your junior year of college and you can't answer your security questions, you didn't verify your cell phone number, and you can't even check your email. That's not good. So use a personal email address, like a Gmail account, Hotmail, Outlook, whatever you use, please use a personal email address. And of course, the student and the parent have to have separate email addresses because one email address is attached to one username and password. Be prepared to answer for security questions in case you ever forget your password, but pick questions that are not going to change. For example, what is your mother's maiden name? What is your father's middle name? What is the city you were born in? Also, what is your high school mascot? Those don't change. One of the questions that you might see on there is, who is your best friend? And let's be honest, when I was in high school, I had 10 best friends, and it depended on the day who was my best friend. So again, be very cautious, pick questions that are not going to change. Verify your cell phone number and also your email address. You have to verify at least one, but I strongly suggest verifying both. And the reason why I say that is because phone numbers change, and also sometimes you can get locked out of your email addresses. Now, just to give you a heads up, when you are working on your FSA ID and you leave the computer inactive for 10 minutes, you will have to start all over again. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to make an FSA ID. It's not that long. So again, you could sit there and do that. But of course, I know things do happen. But the reason why that happens is because this is a federal website and you're putting a lot of private information about yourself in there, and they don't want your identity stolen. So if you leave it inactive for 10 minutes, it will start all over again. Of course, you want to write down your username and password and keep it secure and safe. I strongly suggest writing down your FSA ID and putting it with your taxes. Because again, you use your taxes every single year when you are completing the FAFSA. And again, you only use this username and password once a year, and that's again completing the FAFSA. So again, putting it with your taxes might be a great place to put it. So what do I need to file my FAFSA? Number one is that email address and that mobile phone number to make that FSA ID. And then of course, the parent and the student have to have that FSA ID to log in and also to submit the FAFSA. You're also going to need your social security number. And if you're not a US citizen but a permanent resident, you're going to have your alien registration number. You're also going to have your 2019 tax income forms, so there's 1040s, for the parent and also the student, 2019 W-2s, and other records of money earned, such as those 1099s. Bank statements or records of investments, which are also known as your assets, records of untaxed income, and parent's date of birth, social security number, marital status, and date parents were married, divorced, or widowed. Now again, I know this is a lot of private information, but it is the federal government asking for it. So what happens after you complete the FAFSA? Number one is you're going to get an EFC. An EFC stands for Expected Family Contribution. It is a measure of how much the student and the family can contribute to the student's education. So if your EFC is 0, see that as a benefit. That means that your parents and yourself cannot contribute to any money to your education. You might be saying, Johnny, how is that a benefit? It is a benefit because you're going to become more eligible for grant money because of it. So for example, if your EFC is 0, so your expected family contribution is 0, you're potentially going to be eligible for that full Pell Grant, which right now is at $6,345. So that's $6,345 worth of free money, of grant money, that you can use towards your education. Now, of course, you do have your cost of attendance, and this is how much your school is going to cost total. So you're going to have your direct costs, which is going to be your tuition and fees and room and board. Now, these, again, are going to be billable, okay? But then you're also going to have your indirect costs, which is transportation, books and supplies, and also miscellaneous, potentially buying yourself a laptop for college. And what you do here is you take your cost of attendance and you subtract it from your EFC, and that's how you're going to get your financial need. So what happens after the FAFSA? Now, when the FAFSA processes, you can go back in and you can check your SAR. It's also known as a student aid report. It is going to detail all the information that you put into the FAFSA. Now, you might notice that whatever you use for the IRS, it will be blocked out. So not even you can see it because you know it's going to be accurate. Now, also, it will detail what you put in manually. And so if you notice there's a mistake, you can make that correction. Not only that, if you need to add a school, you can. Say, for example, you're in your senior year and you filed for the FAFSA in October, so you did October 15th, but then on December 15th, you notice that you forgot a school. You can go back and add that school if you'd like. And of course, in the spring, you're going to start receiving award letters from your universities and colleges detailing how much money they are offering you in grants, loans, scholarships, and other forms of institutional aid. And of course, it's okay to compare your schools. So again, when you get those award letters, compare them, find out your best options for yourself. So affordability is going to be key. Now, don't rule out any of your schools until you get those award letters, okay? And also, potentially, you might find out ways of covering unmet need. Say, for example, you take out a tuition payment plan through your university and you're paying about $200 a month to pay off your balance. You might be looking at local, regional, state, and national scholarships. And also, finally, potentially, you might decide to find a workplace area that potentially offers tuition assistance. And you also have alternative loans you can look into. And one of those loans is going to be the Kentucky Advantage loan, which I'll go into detail about today. And then also you have your professional judgments. Now I'm going to talk about 2 different types of professional judgments that can be made. Now there's a couple other ones, but these are 2 that we typically see. Let's say, for example, in 2019, a family made $100,000. Now, when you fill out the FAFSA, you're going to have to use 2019 income no matter what. So let's say, for example, in 2020, one of your families lost their job, potentially to COVID-19, and now the family is only making about $30,000. So you can get a professional judgment based off income. Now, again, when you fill out the FAFSA, you're going to have to use 2019 tax forms. But again, when you finish the FAFSA, you can contact your financial aid office and have them reevaluate your income to see if you could be eligible for some money. Now, it's up to the university to accept it, that professional judgment. Another professional judgment I want to talk about is called a dependency override. Let's say, for example, you have a student who's been living with their parents since, not their parents, they've been living with their grandparents since they were 2 years old. They have no contact with their parents at all. Now, when you fill out the FAFSA, it's going to say, do you want to provide parental information? Potentially, you're going to say no to that question because you haven't seen your parents. You have no relationship with the parents. You don't even talk to them. So again, if you do talk to them, that is a relationship. But if you don't talk to them, you have no clue where they're at. Potentially, if your grandparents have custody, you would still have to use your parents' information. So in this case, you would say on the FAFSA, since you have no relationship with your parent, you would say not to provide parental information. And then you would say, I have a special circumstance. And then you would submit the FAFSA without that parental information. But you need to contact your school's financial aid office and ask for a dependency override. Okay, and of course, it's up to the school to accept that dependency override. So again, please note these things. So if you do have a relationship with your parents, they live down the street, or potentially they say happy birthday to you, that is a relationship. So you would still have to use your parents' information if your grandparents or aunt or uncle had custody. Now, if your aunt or uncle or potentially grandparents have guardianship of you, you would be seen as an independent student. So you wouldn't have to use anybody's information. And just to give you a heads up, grandparents and aunt or uncles, you would never use your information on the FAFSA unless you officially have adopted that child, okay? So again, it has to be a biological parent's information unless that student is in guardianship. Now, it's a lot of information, but of course, if you do have questions, please use that chat. Emily, again, is there. She can answer those questions for you. Now, you actually might be selected for verification. It does not mean that you are being audited, okay? It does not mean that you're being audited. It's just a spot check to make sure the information you put into the FAFSA is correct. Now, it could be the fact that it was randomly selected, or potentially they just want to double check to make sure your information is correct. So if you are verified, do not see it as a bad thing. They're just checking to make sure your information is correct. Now, just to give you a heads up too, if you do not complete verification at the school that you plan on going to and you've been selected for verification, so again, not all your students are verified, but if you are selected and you don't complete it, you will not get any type of financial aid at your university. Okay, so again, if you are verified, do it as soon as possible. Okay, so again, please do it as soon as possible. Because again, if you get through it the first time, they might ask for additional documentation. So again, by finishing it early, you are getting it out of the way. Now, I do want to talk about your type of aids. Okay, so the type of federal aid that is available to you. So first of all, you're going to have that federal Pell Grant. This is a need-based grant, and the max amount of money that you can get from that Pell Grant is $6,345 right now. Now, of course, it could go up, it could go down. Past couple of years, it has gone up each year, but for the 2021 year right now, it is $6,345. And of course, if you are from a exceptional need-based family, you also might be eligible for the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. It's up to $4,000, but just to give you a heads up, potentially you might only get about $900 of it. So you potentially are not going to get that $4,000. Then you're going to have that Teach Grant. Now, this is for students who potentially are going to be full-time teachers in a high-need field. And of course, are working in a public or private elementary or secondary school that serves low-income based students. And again, it's up to $4,000, but of course, if that changes, if you change your major, that $4,000 becomes a loan, okay? Just so you give you a heads up there. And of course, you do have work study when you work on campus. And of course, you do have loans, and we're gonna go into detail about those loans soon. You also are gonna have your state aid. Now, your state aid is first come, first serve. So to receive the state aid, you do have to stay in the state of Kentucky for college. And not only that, you also have to be a Kentucky resident, okay? So just to let you all know, if you receive any money of that Pell Grant, so if you receive even $1,000 of that Pell Grant, you will also receive Kentucky grants, okay? So if you're going to a community college or you're going to a four-year public, four-year private, and you stay in the state of Kentucky and you receive money of that Pell Grant, you're also gonna get that College Access Program grant, also known as CAP. Now, just to give you a heads up, if you go to the community college, it is at $2,000. If you go to a four-year public, four-year private school in the state of Kentucky, it is $2,200. Now, if you decide to go to a private university or college in the state of Kentucky, you also have that Kentucky tuition grant. And it says it's up to $3,000, but the exact amount of money is $2,960. And that's, again, for attending a private Kentucky college or university. Now, we are going to talk about that dual credit scholarship and the work ready scholarship in a few seconds. So I'm going to pass it to the next slide. We're going to talk about KEA's money as well, but we do offer the early graduate scholarship certificate as well. So if you're graduating early, please look into that there. But I do want to talk to you all about the dual credit scholarship and also the work ready dual credit scholarship. Now, while you are in high school, so your academic career, you are eligible for 2 dual credit classes for free. So only 2, not 2 per year, just 2 while you are in high school. So you can use them your junior year, or potentially you can use them for your senior year. Now, potentially you might do 1 your junior year and then 1 your senior year, depending on what you're doing. Now, again, you only get 2 for free. Okay, so you can take as many dual credit classes as you want, but you're only eligible for 2 of these dual credit scholarships. Now, just to give you a heads up, your preferences, if you are taking a dual credit class right now, you need to set your preferences by October 1st. If you're a student, you need to set those preferences by October 1st. Also, you have the Work Ready Kentucky Dual Credit Scholarship. Now, this is available to students who are taking a career and technical education coursework and a career pathway approved by the Kentucky Department of Education and leading to an industry recognized credential. So this allows students their freshman year to take 2 classes, their sophomore year 2 classes, their junior year 2 classes, and their senior year 2 classes if they are in a pathway for a career and technical educational field. Now, again, that means potentially with that Work Ready Kentucky Dual Credit Scholarship, students can graduate high school with 24 hours of CTE dual credit courses. That's pretty good. Not only that, you take those dual credit courses, so that's another 6 hours. So potentially your high school students can graduate with 30 hours of college credit for free from the state of Kentucky. Let's talk about KEAS money. Now, your students have been earning KEAS money since their freshman year, as long as they've been a Kentucky resident and also at a certified Kentucky high school. Now, just to give you a heads up, if you get a 2.5 GPA, we're going to give you $125. If a student gets a 4.0, we're going to give them $500. Now, just to give you another heads up, as long as a student has been in a Kentucky school, so even if they transferred from one school to another and they're Kentucky certified high schools, and they're there for 140 days, so total. So even if they ever transferred and they've been in a Kentucky school for 140 days, they are eligible for KEAS money. So again, if they get a 2.5, we get $125. If they get a 4.0, we're going to give them $500. So let's just say you are that 4.0 student. Every single year of high school, you get a 4.0. That's 500 times 4. That's $2,000. Then, as long as you maintain at least a 2.5 GPA for at least 1 year while you're in high school, and also you have above a 15 on the ACT, you're going to get that ACT bonus. If you get a 15 on the ACT, we're going to give you $36. If you get a 21 on the ACT, we're going to give you $250. If you get a 28 or higher on the ACT, we're going to give you $500. Now, we get this question a lot, can I get the ACT bonus more than once? No, we take your highest ACT result. So if you take it 5 times, you get this bonus once, but we take it for your highest ACT result. So let's say, for example, you're that 4.0 student and you get a 28 on the ACT. Okay, so each year in high school, you got a 4.0. That's $2,000 plus $500, that is $2,500. Now you're gonna take that $2,500 and you're gonna times it by 4 for 4 years of college. Your students just earned a $10,000 scholarship from the state of Kentucky, which is very, very impressive. Now, another great option is if your students are taking AP exams. Now, there is a requirement here. You have to be a free reduced lunch student. You have to be a student who qualifies for it. It's not the whole school. As an individual, you have to qualify for free reduced lunch. But if you are that free reduced lunch student who passes the AP exam with a 3, we're going to give you $200. If you pass it with a 4, we're going to give you $250. If you pass it with a 5, we are going to give you $300. And there is no limit to how many AP exams you can pass if you're that free reduced lunch student for this bonus. So say, for example, you pass 5 AP exams, all with 3s. That's an extra $1,000. So instead of potentially getting $2,500 for your ACT and GPA, you're looking at $3,500. You times it by 4 for 4 years of college, you just earned a $14,000 scholarship from the state of Kentucky. Now, we do get some common questions about KEAS money, so I'm going to answer those for you. Where can I use my KEAS money? You can only use your KEAS money inside the state of Kentucky. There's one exception. That exception is if Kentucky does not offer your major. Now, we have a partnership, and that is called our Academic Common Market. If Kentucky does not offer your major, you can actually go to the following website, and hopefully Emily will write this in there for you. It is cpe.ky.gov. Again, that website is cpe.ky.gov. If you go to that website, you can see what schools can actually take your KEAS money, and also it will list the majors that Kentucky does not offer. So for example, if you do have questions about the major you want to go into and to see if you can take your KEAS money outside the state, you can go to that website. Again, it's called our Academic Common Market. You have a 5-year span to use your KEAS money, but you can only use it 4 times. So if you take a year off, you still have 4 years to use it. Now, if you take 3 years off, you have 2 years left. If you don't go within 5 years, that KEAS money is gone. Okay, so you have a 5-year span to use your KEAS money. The only exception here is if you plan on joining the military. And of course, we will freeze that KEAS money, but there has to be paperwork on file with KEAA to actually save that KEAS money for if you're going into the military and being active duty. How do I receive my KEAA award? Now, your KEAA money is sent directly to the college that you are going to. For example, your school will contact us and we give the money directly to the college. To get the scholarship, do I have to be enrolled full-time in college or technical school? Yes. To get the full amount of KEAA money, you do have to be enrolled full-time. Just to give you a heads up, 12 hours per semester makes you full-time, but we strongly suggest that students take 15 hours per semester. It's called 15 to finish, which means you should be taking 15 hours per semester to graduate in 4 years. If you're taking 12 hours per semester and you've never taken a dual credit course, an AP class, or don't plan on taking summer or winter courses, and you're taking 12 hours per semester, you will not graduate college in 4 years. Because again, you need 120 hours typically to graduate from a university. Sometimes it could be 128 depending on where you're at. But typically it's 120, which means 15 hours per semester, which is 30 hours per year. Now, do I have to have a certain GPA in college or technical school to keep my scholarship? Yes. Your freshman year, it is a 2.5 GPA. If you go below that GPA, which is a C+ average, you can lose your KEAA money, but you can earn it back by bringing your GPA back up. Your sophomore year, junior year, and senior year of college, it is a 3.0, which is a B average. If you go below that, you can lose your KEAA money. The only exception is if you are staying on track to graduate with a 2.5 to a 2.99 GPA. Again, if you have that 2.5 to 2.99 GPA and you're staying on track to graduate, you still can get your KEAA money. But if you don't follow those requirements, you can lose your KEAA money. Now, just to give you a heads up as well, you can use your KEAA money for apprenticeships now. But of course, these apprenticeships have to be through the Kentucky Education and Workforce Development Cabinet. So again, these have to be approved apprenticeships through the Kentucky Education and Workforce Development Cabinet. And what we do with your KEAA money is we reimburse you for expenses like supplies, supplies and material, and also books. So say, for example, you earned $2,000 while you were in high school for your KEAA per year. And just to give you a heads up, let's say you have $1,800 worth of expenses. We will reimburse you those $1,800 worth of reimbursement or of expenses as long as you provide us receipts and also you submit the Registered Apprenticeship Reimbursement Pathway Form to KHEAA by August 1st. So again, as long as we get those receipts and also that reimbursement pathway form, you potentially can use your KEAA money for an approved apprenticeship. But again, it has to be an approved apprenticeship through the Kentucky Education and Workforce Development Cabinet. I do also want to talk to you about the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship. It's one of my favorite things to talk about with students because it's not just for high school students, for anybody in the state of Kentucky. You can be 35 years old and get this scholarship. But the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship helps Kentuckians who have not yet earned an associate's degree afford an industry-recognized certification, diploma, or associate's in applied science. Now, a couple of restrictions on the scholarship. You do have to have a FAFSA on file. It is a last resort scholarship, so your school will take your KEAA money and then your grant money and other forms of institutional aid, so scholarships. And then this scholarship will kick in, okay? But to get this scholarship, you have to be majoring in one of these sectors. They have to be healthcare, advanced manufacturing, transportation logistics, business services IT, and also construction. Again, those sectors are healthcare, advanced manufacturing, transportation logistics, business services IT, and also construction. Now I'm going to give you a heads up that you can go to the KHEAA website, KHEAA.com. You can look up the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship, and there's a list of schools and programs that each school has to offer. So if you do have questions, if that your school offers a program you want to go into, you can go there and check. Now, just to give you a heads up too, you cannot be enrolled in an ineligible degree program such as a bachelor's or other associate's program at the same or any other institution at that time. And of course, you need to apply in May 2021. The application that's opened up right now is for the 2021 school year, and potentially if you're starting school in fall 2021, which is the 21-22 school year, you will not be able to apply for this scholarship until May 2021. The application can be found at KHEAA.com. You would log into your My KHEAA account, and the application takes about 5 to 10 minutes. Now, just to give you a heads up, this scholarship will pay for the tuition at a community college. If a 4-year public or 4-year private university offers this certification, diploma, or associate in applied science, it will pay for some or a portion of that tuition. Let's talk about loans. Now, when you fill out the FAFSA, you are eligible for some loan money. Of course, remember, this is money that you are paying back. Now, there are two different loans I do want to talk about. Those are direct loans and also plus loans. Your direct loans are going to be your subsidized loans or unsubsidized loans. So if you take out a subsidized loan, that is a need-based loan, which means it's for need-based students. This loan is not going to have interest until you leave that school or you graduate. So again, the interest does not happen until you leave the school or you graduate. Now, if you take out an unsubsidized loan, which is not a need-based loan, if you take an unsubsidized loan, there is interest while you are in school. And then you're going to have your plus loans. Now, parents, a plus loan is a parent loan. So it means it's in the parent's name, which means it's going to follow you the rest of your life. So let's talk about the difference between these loans. So subsidized, unsubsidized is a student loan. Your plus loan is a parent or graduate student loan. And then of course the loan limits, we'll talk about that on the next slide for students, but plus loan is cost of attendance. So parents, just to give you a heads up, if you want to take out a $10,000 loan out for your student for college, you can. But again, remember that potentially you're taking out that $10,000 per year. So it's going to turn out to be a $40,000 loan potentially. Because again, if you're taking out this first year, you might have to take it out for the next 3 years as well. Interest rates for subsidized, unsubsidized is at 2.75%. The plus loan is at a 5.3. And of course, there's no credit review for subsidized, unsubsidized, but there is one for the plus loan. So you do have to get approved for that plus loan. If you are a student and you plan on using some loan money, your freshman year as a dependent student, you're going to get $5,500. If you're an independent student, it is $9,500. Sophomore year, $6,500 for dependent. Third year and so forth, it is $7,500, but there is a limit at $31,000. Now here's a slide potentially that tells you what can you afford, and looking at loans and then basically how much loan should I take out with the expected salary rate that I have by the time I graduate. So say, for example, you make $35,000. Your maximum manageable monthly payment should be about $292, which means you should only take out $30,600 worth of loans. Now, just to give you a heads up, if you're that person who makes $35,000 and you take out $100,000 worth of loans, potentially your monthly payment is going to be $954, and your total repayment is going to be $114,000. So please be smart there, because again, you don't want to be that person who's 35 who has $100,000 in debt and is paying potentially $1,000 a month and you're living with your parents. So again, make good decisions about potentially where you want to go to school and look at affordability. So here's a case study. You have a 12th grader, Kentucky resident, parents are married, 1 sibling, 4 IRS exemptions, 4 people in the family. Age of the oldest parent is 46, and the student income is 0. So here it gives you a comparison look, okay, at a community college, a 4-year public, and a 4-year private. So already you have an EFC, which is expected family contribution of $2,120, which means that's money that they believe that your parents can pay for your education. But even though you have an EFC of $2,120, you're going to get a Pell Grant. And of course, if you're staying in the state of Kentucky, which all 3 of these are Kentucky schools, you're going to get that CAP grant. Now also, the private school has the KTG grant. Then you have your KEAS money. Now the student didn't do so well, but of course, I mean, $1,500 is $1,500. It's pretty good. Then you have your institutional aid. Now, of course, we're going to notice as each school is completely different. And of course, your private schools are potentially going to offer a lot more money because they are more expensive. Then you have your loan limits. And then you also are going to have remaining need. So as you can see here, potentially you're going to need some extra money from that public school, that private school, but also at the community college as well because of the EFC and potentially that loan money. You want to get rid of that. But here's an example of an award letter. This is at a private school potentially. Say that private school is $39,327. Now, in the spring, you will start getting award letters telling you how much money your schools are going to cost you. So you might notice that this is split by semester, and it typically is even by semester. So it might be $1 off, but typically the amounts are even. But you can see here, this student is getting the Pell Grant, the CAP Grant, the KTG because it's a private school, KEAS money, and other forms of institutional aid. And it also has some loans as well. And it adds up to the total of $34,355. Which means you do have a balance of $4,972. So how do you get rid of that balance? Potentially, you might apply for local, regional, state, and national scholarships. You might check with your employers to see if there's any tuition assistance or if there's any scholarships they're awarding for you to go to college. Tuition payment plans, where potentially you're working with your university and you're paying $200 a month to pay off that balance. And also look at alternative loan options like the Kentucky Advantage Loan. Here's the Kentucky Advantage Loan. Now, if you want more information about the Kentucky Advantage Loan, you can visit that website, which is theadvantageeducationloan.com. It is at a fixed interest rate as low as a 3.5 and does not go above a 6.99. It is a great loan, great option to have. And of course, as you can see here, it is a loan for students or parents. So a student could take out this loan, and of course, a parent could take out this loan. And again, there are 3 different types of repayment, and that's immediate repayment interest only, and of course, postponed repayment as well. Of course, we do have a 529 plan called the Kentucky Saves 529. It helps families save money for their children's education expenses. So again, if you have a senior this year, but potentially you might have a kindergartner, or potentially you want to help somebody in the future save up for college, it's a good way to do so with a 529 plan. And of course, you can go to our website for the 529 plan, which is kysaves.com. Now, your students do have options. Now, again, we are very unbiased about where your students go to school, but again, we do like to talk about Kentucky schools. So you're going to have your 8 public universities, you're going to have your 16 community colleges, and we have several private schools in the state of Kentucky. So please look at your options. We have great schools in the state of Kentucky. And of course, by staying in the state of Kentucky, you might be eligible for that grant money and also your KEAS money as well. Here's a look at what schools and what counties they're in. So for example, here's a map of Kentucky, and it details your 4-year public, your 4-year private, your community colleges, your tech schools, your seminaries, and so forth. So you can see here all the schools in the state of Kentucky and where they are located. Take more classes to finish earlier. For example, you want to aim for those 15 hours per semester to finish on time. You want to try to schedule your core courses first and get them out of the way. You will want to meet with an advisor to map out your plan so you can finish in 4 years. Also explore the KHEAA website. It is a very interactive web portal that provides a lot of great information about planning for college, also paying for college, and also for students in college. For example, if you look at the tabs on this website here, planning for college can provide timelines. Picking a school helps you decide what school potentially you might want to go to. Paying for college can give you information about the FAFSA and also about scholarships and financial aid. You can find that scholarship database underneath that tab there. College life, surviving college. Money management tells you how to budget your money. And other resources is where you're going to find our publications. And of course, we have that KEAS tab, which is all about that KEAS money. Now, of course, this website is going to provide some career and college exploration, financial aid information, college admissions, scholarship searches, distance and online learning, publications and newsletters. Of course, if you are verified through KHEAA, you can use KHEAA Verify. And of course, you have your My KHEAA accounts. And then of course, you can always check your KEAS money at KHEAA.com. You sign into your My KHEAA account. Each student has one in the state of Kentucky so they can look at their KEAS money. If you find an issue with your KEAS money, please reach out to your school counselor and talk to them about the issue, because they're the ones who have to change it. So again, talk to your school counselor. Each school has a KEAS administrator or KEAS coordinator, and your school counselor will work with them with changing that information so it is accurate. Getting the facts. So if you ever log into your My KHEAA account, you can do Getting the Facts. It's a way to check to see like what schools you want to go into. It's not just Kentucky schools. You can go pick any school in the United States. It takes the completion of the FAFSA one step further by providing a personalized breakdown of college costs and also estimated financial aid. Not only that, it compares your schools, tells you about the ACT results your school takes, how much it's going to cost you to go there, and also gives you some demographics as well. Great resource. I strongly suggest if you're a junior or a senior, please use this resource. It helps families make informed decisions about their higher educational options. Again, just sign into your My KHEAA account. You would go to the sign at the very top of the screen. And of course, you can always register for one. Again, every single student in the state of Kentucky who goes to a certified high school, they do have an account. A couple things for looking at admissions and also financial aid. Research your colleges and conduct campus visits. Okay, not all your schools are going to be doing campus visits right now due to COVID, but you can start looking at virtual tours, potentially contacting your school to see if they do have some in-person campus visits, and of course you might have to sign up for them online. You probably won't be able to just show up at the school and say, hey, I'm here. Make sure that you go to the website and you sign up for one of those in-person visits if your school is allowing that. Attend campus preview nights and college fairs. Now, there are some college fairs in the state of Kentucky that are going on, but they will be going virtually. So please reach out to your school counselors about that to see when these college fairs are. Put in finishing touches on your school essays and your college essays to make sure they are good. Proofread them, have someone look over them for you. Because again, they might see something that you didn't see when you were correcting them. Complete admissions applications by deadline. Of course, if you miss that deadline, you miss that deadline. So watch that deadline. Check your emails for correspondence from your universities. For example, you might get an email saying that you've been admitted, or potentially you're receiving a letter in the mail saying that you've been admitted. And of course, make note of housing application deadlines. Don't miss those deadlines. Also, financial aid-wise, attend a financial aid workshop, which you all are doing right now, so good job there. Apply for scholarships through the College Financial Aid Office. Watch those deadlines as well. Research scholarship opportunities on KHEAA.com and also other websites. Create an FSA ID and complete your FAFSA at FAFSA.gov as soon as possible beginning October 1st, so this Thursday. Follow up on your FAFSA, make corrections if you need to, add schools if you need to. Submit FAFSA scholarship applications by the required deadline, so again, don't miss those deadlines, and also continue applying for scholarships to boost your financial aid package. So there's local scholarships, which typically come around January, February, March of your senior year. And of course, check your school counselor websites, their social media, watch those Remind 101. Students, check your emails. There's going to be a lot of great opportunities there from your school counselors and also your college or career counselors talking about scholarships. Don't be that person who's like, I didn't know about this, because again, you need to be reading your emails, checking social media as well. Where to go for more information about financial aid? You can go to collegeboard.org, studentaid.ed.gov, FAFSA.gov, kysaves.com for that savings plan trust, fsaid.ed.gov to create that username and password for the FAFSA. And of course, you can go to our website, which is kygoestocollege.com. Again, that is kygoestocollege.com. You can find some great resources there for the college application process. I want to thank you all for coming out today, learning more about financial aid. I'm going to just give you a few more tips real quick. If you text Outreach to 1-800-928-8926, if you text Outreach to 1-800-928-8926, you can receive some timely resources and reminders about preparing for college. We provide tips about the ACT. We talk about ACT dates. We also are going to provide some information about the FAFSA, financial aid, and of course provide you some tips and tricks about college access.